Hey, Upper East Siders. Well, it's been 13 years since the series finale of Gossip Girl aired, and I'm just going to say it right now, I'm still not over it. I watched the show in real time from the first season all the way up through my senior year of high school. Stuck in the past? You bet I am. Still obsessed? Absolutely. So, if you're like me and Gossip Girl has become a comfort show that you turn to time and time again, you are not alone. I just finished another rewatch of the series. It may have been my 11th or even 12th. I've kind of lost count, but it got me thinking about doing a fun rankings and retrospective episode for the podcast today. So, what I've done is gone in and picked out a top three for various fun categories related to the show. And we're going to go through all of those rankings. So we'll get into all things GG in just a minute. But first, let's do a little create and consume, which, if you're new here, is a segment we do in every episode. It's also the name of the podcast you're listening to because, in many ways, we are all creating and consuming every single week. And whether you consider yourself an official content creator or not, I'm sure that there is some snap in your camera roll from the last 7 days. If there's not, actually DM me. I have so many questions for you. But as far as what I've been creating in the past week, I created a carousel post on Instagram, which I've randomly been liking more than reels lately, question mark. I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm having a great time creating photo carousel posts on my Instagram feed. And this week I created a post all about how I got my blog into Mediavine, which is a new update for me. As of last month, my blog got accepted into Mediavine, which is an ad network for bloggers. So it allows me to monetize my site by letting ads run on my blog, and Mediavine is the middleman between the advertisers and me. So that is a really exciting milestone for me. It was one of my 2025 goals, so to have been able to accomplish it feels amazing, honestly. And if you go onto my blog, which is Keep Calm and Chiffon, you can check out the ad placements that are there now. I've been pretty happy with them. Haven't seen anything strange or that I wouldn't want there yet. I've mostly been seeing ads for Sephora and Squarespace, which, like, yes, sign me up for both of those things. And that's super exciting. So I decided to do a little carousel post talking more about my journey as a blogger, how I started creating content, how I really refined my content, learned more about SEO, and developed it over the years to get it to the consistency and the quality for Mediavine standards. So I'm super excited about this. Like I said, it was one of my big goals for the year. So to be able to check it off before the year ends means a lot to me. And as far as what I've been consuming this week, I was going to say read a book. You guys tell me what you think about if audiobooks count as actually reading a book, but I actually listened to a book. This was my first time ever doing an audiobook, which may sound crazy, but I don't know what came over me. I mean, I think that in part I was just looking for new stuff to listen to because I inhale podcasts. Like the second my favorite podcast drop, I've already probably listened to the episode before lunch, whether I was on a morning walk or whether it was just between breaks in the day, or maybe I had some busy work that doesn't necessarily require my full focus where I can consume a podcast in the background. I just love the audio format, as you can tell by the fact that I also have this podcast. But I don't know. So it's in my Spotify premium to have a couple of hours of audiobook content each month. So I decided to listen to The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. And the other thing that really convinced me to listen to the audiobook is that Kelly actually narrates the book herself. So it's literally like having your grandmother read you a story, and it's just the most like comforting feeling in the entire world. So tell me if you think this counts as reading. And by the way, I am 95% done with the book. Didn't have time to finish it before I sat down to record this episode. I assume the other 5% is much like the 95% that I've already consumed and that I really, really loved and enjoyed. I just love her whole story. I really didn't know too much about Kelly going into this. First of all, that her name isn't actually Kelly, it's Carol, and she changed it. It was great to learn about her early dance career in New York, obviously hearing how her story got incorporated into a chorus line, her time in Vegas as a showgirl. Like, hello, literally, Kelly Bishop was living the life of a showgirl. And then obviously her experience in film and TV with shows like Gilmore Girls and Mrs. Maisel and more. I just absolutely love this retrospective. I also loved learning more about her personal life and her personal relationships. She definitely learned a lot of life lessons very early on, and she always was just very true to herself and really stuck with her guns, especially about things that maybe weren't so conventional for women back then. So I loved hearing her tell me this story. I thought it was so much fun, and I'm definitely down to listen to more audiobooks in the future. So if you guys have any favorite audiobook narrators or books that were amazing on audio, I would be really interested to hear what they are. I feel like it worked perfectly for the memoir format. And I would definitely give this 5 stars, but I'm curious how that translates to fiction where there's a lot of different characters speaking and stuff like that. So let me know. With all of that out of the way, let's get into today's Gossip Girl episode. And I do have my headband on, just as an ode to Queen Bee. And I actually wrote my college essay about headbands, and I think it's very safe to say that there was some Gossip Girl influence there. So, where do we even begin when we think about Gossip Girl? So, the show took place over the course of 6 seasons. It shot in New York City. I mean, one of my personal favorite things about the show is being able to recognize like streets or little spots that they go to. You can go to lots of different places on Gossip Girl. I actually filmed a YouTube video where I did a Gossip Girl New York tour years ago, but I could do such a better job with that video today. I'm convinced if I went out with my camera and actually like planned ahead. So maybe I'll plan to do that at some point because I think that would be a fun video to reshoot for myself. But anyway, Gossip Girl was my favorite show for all of high school, truly. Like, I just absolutely loved it. It was so unlike my life in many ways. And I just really enjoyed seeing the character development, seeing the crazy plots play out, and of course, just like, the fashion and the opulence and the parties. Like, there was so much that just was enviable from that standpoint, even if the characters were making decisions and life choices that my parents would have actually killed me if I had even entertained the idea of. So, there is so much to discuss here. What I ended up doing was, since I just finished a rewatch, I kind of throughout this whole rewatch was trying to take notes of things that I personally felt like were fun to chat about or talk about. If you guys have anything to add to these lists of top 3, I would love to hear what they are. But instead of just doing like some kind of season by season recap or something, I mean, if you're listening to this episode, I assume you've watched the whole show. There will be, information about all the seasons in here. So if for some reason you are unspoiled, this is your warning to click off right now. But just to give you a quick look ahead, I did top 3 most unexpected hookups, top 3 holiday episodes, top 3 most iconic New York City moments, unanswered questions from the end of the series, the spin-offs I would have watched instead of the reboot that they did, which I watched one episode of and then I abandoned. So my apologies to the reboot, but it did get canceled. So maybe I was onto something there. Let's start out with the top 3 favorite characters' style from the show. And number 1 slot goes to my girl, Serena Vanderwoodson. What I love about Serena's style is, even though you can tell that her clothes are expensive and that she comes from money, the styling and the way she wears everything always feels so effortless, especially when you factor in hair and makeup. Like, I love when she wears a more structured dress and her hair is super messy, or maybe she's wearing a flowy dress and then her hair is nice and sleek. She just always has that perfect balance going on. It's something that they joke about it in the episode where she and Blair like model for Eleanor, but they joke about how easily it seems to come to her and how confident she is in how she dresses and the way she looks. And I feel like that always comes through. I mean, some of my favorite notable looks, it's hard to pick a few, but I love the episode where they do Fashions Night Out and she's wearing that black and white printed outfit with the blue beading. There's an outfit that she wears in Paris that's like a beaded mini dress, but then she styles it with like a fedora and a blazer, and suddenly it becomes a lot more casual. Even for Constance, I loved how her uniform always looked a little bit unkempt somehow, even though she was wearing like part of her uniform and what she was supposed to be wearing. I just like absolutely loved it. So second place goes to Blair Waldorf. Obviously, I also love her style. I think the reason she's not my top is because it's always a little bit more polished and a little bit more refined, which I think ties into her character so much better. But I actually love how her style evolves, and I really find that from like season 3 on, I am just as equally lusting after a lot of her outfits as well. I mean, her Constance uniform, I believe it's from the Victor Victrola episode in season 1 where she has like the big red bow on the side and like a red lip to match. I absolutely love that. Season 5 Blair style kind of lost me a little bit when she was like in her princess era. I feel like she started dressing way differently than how she normally does. Famously, people critique her hair and makeup from the wedding with Louis because it's just like beachy waves, and everyone's like, Blair Waldorf would never do that for her real wedding. So there you go. I do love her white party outfit from The Hamptons, season 2, episode 1. That dress is actually iconic. If it were ever warm enough to do that for Halloween, I would absolutely want Andrew to wear an all white suit so I could wear that dress and we could be Blair and Chuck. I love her style in Paris, though. I love her style at events. I mean, just all around, so many amazing looks. And then coming in at number 3, there are so many different directions I could have gone with this, clearly, but I'm going to give it to Lily. I'm going to give it to Lily Vanderwoodson, Bass, Humphrey, Rhodes. All of the names. And I love Lily's wardrobe because this is what I kind of hope my wardrobe looks like in like 15 years from now, where I just have so many classic wardrobe staples. I mean, she has so many amazing coats. She has like a classic wool coat. She has a trench coat. She has that coat that Maureen also has in season 3, which ends up being part of a plot line. I love all of her event looks. I love her statement earrings. I love the dresses that she's just like wandering around the house in on a Tuesday. Literally, I wish. But I feel like the perfect, just classic Lily look is simple makeup, a low, sleek bun, and some kind of long sleeve but mini dress on, and there's just something perfectly simple about that. Shout out to our girl Lily. She's come a long way since the 80s, as we got to see in the flashback episode. Okay, top 3 characters in terms of character development. Okay, I wanted to do top 3 most unhinged plot lines, but I had more than 3. So what I did was I split them into 2 categories. So first we're going to do top 3 most unhinged plot lines from the high school years. Number 1 is Dan and Rachel. Oh my god, this did not need to happen in my personal opinion. First of all, it was still right on the tails of him and Serena having issues. It's still unclear, really. I feel like they were not broken up when this hookup happened, and so that is not a good look for Dan, clearly. Also, not a good look for Rachel to be hooking up with a student. I mean, I don't care how young she was, right? Like, this was probably illegal, and if not illegal, icky at the very least. Not to mention that he had to do this with the one teacher who actually like was making Serena feel good finally for the first time and giving her validation and reassurance. Like, that is a part of Serena's character development that I feel like we never circle back on after season 2. And I would have liked to hear more about that. And I feel like she actually could have had a good relationship, a teacher relationship, to be clear, with them. And that just completely went off the rails. And then his dad got involved, and then the PTA got involved, and then Blair got involved. So it was never going to be just between them. It had to become everybody else's business. And then actually right underneath that is a related plot line from this, which is then Blair bullying Rachel, which I, first of all, I absolutely would have been kicked out of my high school had I ever been bullying a teacher like this. And like even talking to them at all outside of school would have been so not allowed in any way. And the fact that she just spent so much time on it, like, you're applying to colleges, you're stressed out about getting in, and you have all this spare time on your hands to literally bully a teacher. I understand the day-to-day high school pettiness like with your friends and stuff, but like that just seems like I would not have the energy to care about that. So I guess you give Blair credit for being persistent, but oh my god, that did not need to go down the way that it did. And then obviously it ended up majorly backfiring for Blair, who got her Yale acceptance rescinded once they got wind of that going on. So just crazy all around. And then my third place for most unhinged plotline in high school was the pool party break-in episode. Oh, this one always stresses me out just because like any party in high school where kids don't know how to drink and they put themselves in dangerous situations, like it just makes my heart hurt, and it always just upsets me, that episode. I hate the way that they go about it. I hate like the way the teachers react. I hate the way the kids react. Like nothing about that episode is fun. And I feel like there would have been another potential way for them to like get in trouble slightly with something at school or to have a party at home that was broken up. But I don't know, some combination of all of that happening is just not a plot line that I liked. Also, I know they said that kid was fine, but like we also never saw him again. So where did he go? Okay. 3 most unhinged plot lines for the later seasons. Number 1 is Blair being traded for a hotel. I mean, the disrespect and also the fact that she thought she was scheming to do something good when in reality her partner was using her for a different scheme to do something bad. It's just awful all around, and it literally violates the trust in a relationship. And honestly, I wasn't even sure that Blair and Chuck were going to come back from that ever, because that was just such a huge breach of trust and icky, horrible thing that happened. Also, we get negative points for Jack being involved. Like, that guy's always up to something. It's just, it was rough. The only redeeming quality about that entire storyline was how gorgeous Leighton Meester looked in that Matthew Williamson dress. Okay, next most unhinged plotline, Bart being alive. Spoiler alert, by the way, if I didn't say that already at the beginning of this episode. But every time I watch Chuck walk into the room and like make eye contact with his dad again, I don't understand how he doesn't just instantly pass out, because like that's literally what I would do if I saw someone who I believe to be dead just standing in a room like drinking a glass of scotch. I would absolutely just fall to the ground. Also, it literally, like, the fact that he stayed hidden this entire time makes no sense. Like, did he have disguises at that point? Like, literally, what? Oh my God, so many unanswered questions. We'll get to that more in the unanswered questions segment. But the fact that he like came back for season 6, I think it created some interesting drama and conflict for season 6, but it was also just infuriating at a certain point too. So I actually have no idea. Like, I don't know much about the Gossip Girl writers' room and the showrunners and how long everybody stayed on board the show. But now that I just finished rewatching season 6, and it may be because there were only 10 episodes compared to most other seasons had between 22 and 25 episodes, I want to say. Ugh, the good old days of network TV. But it was giving like season 7 of Gilmore Girls a little bit, where it felt like who's doing the writing here? Like, what's going on? Okay, and then I actually had a tie for number 3, and technically this is already the second most unhinged plotline category. So I guess I had 7, but you know what? It's my podcast. I can decide what the rules are. Number 3 is tied for Lily signing an affidavit and sending Ben, an innocent man, to jail, which is just that is the most rich person storyline you could possibly come up with. And then Georgina claiming that Dan was her baby's father in season 4 because the Russian mob was trying to kill her. Both of those, like, you see them on the scale, right? They balance each other out right away. It's just like all of the craziness, and it all happened in season 4. Season 4 was chock full of crazy. I mean, that was Juliet drugging Serena. That was Ivy coming in. That whole season was full chaos. Okay, top 3 most unexpected hookups. Given that I did just come off of season 6, I got to start with Ivy and Rufus. Okay, so this is also my issue with Rufus as a character, is he starts out on such this moral high ground, and then obviously you may think that there's like 1 or 2 big instances where his morals fail him, or where he, the compass doesn't exactly point due north, so to speak. But it just felt like there were so many layers that like kept getting peeled back off to the point where you're like, does this guy even have a moral compass at all? And I get that Lily kind of started it, and I get that he was mad, but it just goes so against, like, season 1 Rufus would have never even remotely entertained the idea of this. Like, even if he and Lily were never married and she was just someone that he knew and was still friendly with, and he found out that she had like defrauded her family of money, he would not go out of his way to help this girl, never mind like develop feelings for her and fall into a relationship with her. It's also just like hard as the season goes on to buy the chemistry between these two, and maybe we see a little bit of why that is, because Ivy also is hooking up with Serena's dad. If I were to redraw the Gossip Girl hookup map, which I did do one day out of boredom, where I put Blair and Serena in the center, put all their guys around them, and then started going out from there, Ivy is a pretty substantial bubble on that hookup chart too. Like she gets around, as Lola not so kindly says, I think, in season 5. Okay, number 2 for most unexpected hookups. It was the threesome, you guys. It was the threesome in season 3 from the NYU student bucket list once they find out Olivia Burke, played by guest star Hilary Duff, is leaving. And I'm recording this episode a little early, actually, but I believe by the time it comes out, we will have new Hilary Duff music to listen to, or at least a new single. My millennial heart is so happy and excited for this. I mean, I just absolutely can't wait to hear our girls sing again. It's been too long. It's been way too long. Like, it's literally been 10 years since Breathe In, Breathe Out. Legitimately can't wait. But yeah, this threesome was so unhinged. It was kind of an interesting segue to get into the Dan Vanessa plot line, but I feel like they also could have achieved that through the cabaret episode, which I think comes right after this anyway, if she had to step in for Olivia. Third place for most unexpected hookup goes to Vanessa and Chuck. You forgot that happened, didn't you? It happened all the way back in season 2, and it was short-lived, but unexpected. And I feel like if we were going to go down the unexpected pairings pathways to see what a relationship between two people who initially really did not like each other and come from different worlds could have been, I'm just going to say it, I would have been a little more interested to see Chuck Vanessa play out than I was to see Dan Blair play out in season 5. I don't know. Let me know if you disagree with me, but I always look back on that and I'm like, that is actually very interesting. And they almost seem to connect over the bar in season 2. And obviously their shared disdain for Blair and Nate rekindling. And I mean, everyone on the show is stunning, but like the two of them together, just like two extremely pretty people. I don't know. I wonder what would have happened had Chuck and Vanessa continued to see each other in season 2. Probably nothing good, but that's not why we watch Gossip Girl. We watch Gossip Girl for the mess and the chaos. Okay, how about some top 3 holiday episodes as we head into cozy season? I mean, number 1 is The Treasure of Serena Madre, which is season 3, episode 11, the Thanksgiving that will go down in history as the most perfect and awkward family dinner of all time, with Jason Derulo's What You Say playing in the background. Serena's having an affair. Blair thinks her mom is pregnant. Lily's been lying to Rufus. Vanessa's fighting with her mom. Jenny and Eric aren't getting along. There are so many layers here. There really are. And when the roof caved in and the truth came out, I just didn't know what to do. But when I become a star, I'll be living so large, I'll do anything for you. The choreography of this episode is actually so perfect. Another one of my favorite Gossip Girl holiday episodes is Blair Waldorf Must Pie, season 1, episode 9. I like that we see this episode mostly through Dan's current POV and also flashbacks to the previous year. It's really one of the only times we get to see what their group dynamic was like before Serena left. And I actually think that it was really sweet. Like, I think the 3 of them were actually really friends. Obviously, Serena is determined to have a less chaotic Thanksgiving than the previous year. And, you know, she does not get her wish, actually, because that's when her parents realized that they all know each other and that Rufus and Lily had a thing even way back then. Serena also becomes a good friend to Blair. She pulls Blair out of her house and over to Brooklyn. You know, the only thing this episode really loses points for is no Jason Derulo, but I don't think had come out with What You Say yet, so that's fair. And also no Chuck in this episode. But I have to imagine the Bass family Thanksgivings were probably very similar to the glimpse of the Archibald Thanksgiving that we get at the beginning of this episode. And coming in at number 3 for top 3 holiday episodes of Gossip Girl is Roman Holiday. And if you haven't caught on yet, all of the Gossip Girl episode titles are named after movies, and usually they change like 1 or 2 little things. For example, Blair Waldorf Must Pie is a play on John Tucker Must Die. Seder Anything is a play on Say Anything. For Roman holiday, though, they didn't even have to change a single word. You just have to know to pronounce it as in Roman, Harold's boyfriend, and not Roman, as in the Audrey Hepburn movie. Also, a no Chuck episode. I'm sorry, I hate to recommend any episode where Chuck Bass is not on your screen, but Blair is trying to keep her dad's new boyfriend, Roman, at arm's length. There's skating sabotage in Central Park. I love the plotline of Dan and Serena trying to exchange holiday gifts. That is peak season 1 DNS cuteness. And I feel like we very rarely get to see that throughout most of the rest of the show. And I like how even Vanessa helps out and how Blair tries to use Serena's like modeling login to bring her other dad's ex-boyfriend around too. There's just so many different things going on here. I'm pretty sure this is also the episode where Blair gifts Dorota a cell phone for Christmas and says, "Look, Dorota, so we can text." And then in a later episode, we hear that her ringtone for Eleanor is "I'm a Slave for You" by Britney Spears. Dorota is nothing if not cracking me up throughout this entire show. Like, she is just absolutely perfect. And Susanna, who plays Dorota on the show, is also a Barnard alum. Barnard is where I went to college, so we love that. Okay, another top 3 category that I kept coming back to was top 3 Blair dreams. Blair's dream sequences are some of my favorite parts of Gossip Girl because Blair's just like us. You know, sometimes she dreams and inserts herself into a movie of her favorite actress, and I feel like that's absolutely happened to me before. Now, I actually want to preface this by saying that my first thought was, oh, diamonds are a girl's best friend, but that actually is a Serena dream. I think it's the only Serena dream we get in the show, where she's Marilyn Monroe, and then Blair comes in as Audrey Hepburn, and Dan's in the middle of them. That is absolutely iconic, that whole sequence, but it's not a Blair dream. So Blair dream number 1 that I wanted to shout out is from season 4, episode 21, Shattered Bass. And in that one, she actually does dream herself into Roman Holiday, which is a Hepburn film, as are, I believe, all of these that she ends up dreaming. So she is riding through the city on the motorcycle, and Louis is driving, and she's behind him, and she like snuggles up to him. And then at some point in the dream, he turns into Chuck, and he starts driving too quickly. And I just love the setup for that episode that follows. She thought she was on this like safe and tame ride, and then it turns out that she still has not gotten off of the wild ride that was her relationship with Chuck. And I think it just perfectly illustrates the conflict that is about to come in the following episode. Second favorite Blair dream is from season 1, episode 14, the Blair Bitch Project. You can't help but laugh when you say it, the Blair Bitch Project. And in this dream, she is in the film Breakfast with Tiffany's. She plays Audrey, and she is looking for a cat. And when her dad gives her her Christmas gift and shows her that he and Roman bought a house in France, and there's a picture of him with a cat, and she says, a cat. And he says, named cat, like in your favorite movie. So she is looking for Cat. And then Nate appears and he calls her Jenny. And ooh, that is also just such a perfect, like, spooky setup for what is to follow, with her losing touch with Nate and worried that he is seeing someone else or talking to someone else, especially after she is trying to figure out what's going on with her relationship with Nate and also her relationship with Chuck, if there is one yet. There might not be at that point in season 1. And then season 2, episode 21, Satyr Anything instead of Say Anything. And in this one, she's in My Fair Lady, so she encounters herself sitting with Nate, and she sees like the rich, poised version of herself at a restaurant sitting with Nate, and she is the poor version of herself. She's walking around selling flowers, trying to earn money for school. She wants to learn how to speak more properly. And it's just like the two sides of Blair, where she is struggling to try to get something that she wants, and the other side of her where she kind of already had something good and she managed to screw it up in the meantime. Next up is top 3 most memorable songs used in the series. And I was thinking about this one because obviously over the summer, we were all watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. I've really been resisting the urge to rewatch that, but I know it's going to hit so much better when I start it, like in Memorial Day or in May of next year. And the use of music in that show is just so like perfect and poignant. And it actually occurred to me that there are 0 Taylor Swift songs in the entirety of the Gossip Girl soundtrack. Like, there is not one Taylor Swift song in the entire show, but There is so much music from so many different bands that I love and songs that I recognize. It suits the vibe so well. And there's definitely a Spotify playlist of Gossip Girl songs. I will try to find the one that I was listening to while I was working a little while ago and link it in the show notes. But for me, there are really three songs that are the standout songs that make me think of Gossip Girl. So number one is the song that starts the series, and that is Young Folks by Peter, Bjorn, and John, used in season 1, episode 1, the pilot, when Serena is spotted at Grand Central Station. There, like, just the little like the beginning of that song even like sets off all the little neurons in my brain, and I go, oh, it's Gossip Girl, I can feel it, it's the beginning of Gossip Girl. It's just honestly perfect. I have no notes, absolutely love it. Next most memorable song, in second place, is from season 1, episode 7, Victor Victrola, where Chuck opens a nightclub and tries to impress his dad, and Blair ends up coming after she breaks up with Nate. She ends up dancing on stage, and she ends up going home with Chuck in his limo. When they hook up in the back seat, the song With Me by Sum 41 plays, and the music perfectly underscores the moment and like the build up to them finally like getting together. I find few things more satisfying in this world than seeing that scene come on the television and being like, I want you to know. I will resist the urge to keep singing. Moving on to number 3 is What You Say by Jason Derulo. We already talked about this. Season 3, episode 10, The Treasure of Serena Madre. That to me has become a Thanksgiving song. And I feel like there are no Thanksgiving songs in the world. But that to me is a song that I listen to every year on Thanksgiving. So thank you, Jason Derulo, for this gift. Thank you to all the actors who are in that scene and who just like nail their timing and their like little side looks and their one-liners. And poor Rufus, who can't tell a joke to save his life and who is also being underscored by all the drama going on. Okay, top 3 guest stars. This was actually really hard. There are a lot of good guest stars, especially in the final episode of the series that I just watched. But if I had to pick, number 1, Hilary Duff. I mean, I actually liked her character and the way that storyline began in season 3. I think it got a little off the rails towards the end, but seeing Hilary Duff and Gossip Girl was like just another happy coincidence and merging of all my favorite things at the time. Okay, number 2 has got to be Tyra Banks. She absolutely crushed the role of the crazy actress, and I also loved that she and Hilary Duff had scenes together. It was so many more like meshing of my worlds growing up, because I used to love watching America's Next Top Model. Like when Project Runway wasn't on, which is arguably the show I cared more about because I was more interested in fashion, modeling was fashion adjacent, so I would watch that show quite a bit. And then for number 3, I've got William Baldwin on here. He does such a good job at being Daddy Vanderwoods, and like he is so serious, he's so aloof, he just disappears and like reappears at all of these random moments, and he always has the same exact like monotone voice for every little thing. It's very easy to understand more about Serena and Eric and Lily as soon as we meet him, and whenever he's on the screen I'm always like, uh-oh, what's happening now? Okay, I tried to think about the top 3 most iconic New York moments of Gossip Girl, because as much as Gossip Girl takes place in New York City, a lot of it does take place like in their apartments or at school. And I was like, what are some like iconic New York moments though? Like, especially if someone was visiting the city and they wanted to go recreate or see some of these moments. So I think the top obviously has to be the finale, season 6, episode 10, New York, I Love You XOXO. Chuck and Blair's wedding. Chuck and Blair's wedding at Bethesda Terrace. By the way, you guys, I have actually attended a wedding at Bethesda Terrace. Andrew's friends Mike and Marie got married there in 2021, and it was magical. Like I could not explain to you how many goosebumps I had being there, actually getting to witness my friends get married there. Oh my God, it was absolutely beautiful. It is as gorgeous as it looks on the screen. And obviously, this is like a free place that you can wander into in Central Park if you're visiting the city. My number two most iconic New York moment was not initially that obvious to me, but as soon as I remembered it, it went straight on this list. That is season one, episode 9, Blair Waldorf Must Pie, where the Humphrey family plays a game of touch football underneath the Manhattan Bridge. And they pan up like the sun's setting, like they all tackled each other and they pan up. And it's just such a lovely end to that episode. Like, even though Dan and Jenny's parents, Rufus and Allison, are clearly not getting along, it was nice to see them have that like civil and like truly happy moment as a family together. And to have the backdrop of the skyline and everything and the sunset. That really got me. I don't know. Maybe there's just something there about that, but I absolutely love that. And we don't necessarily get that many scenic Brooklyn shots in the show either. So I feel like that was kind of a rare one. And number 3, top iconic New York moment is Serena and Aaron in Times Square. And I'm not an Aaron Rose fan. I'm just going to put that out there. I know he's related to Cyrus, who I do love, but not an Aaron Rose fan. Like lower down on the list of Serena boyfriends for me for sure. But this little gift that he did where he gets her like actually on the billboard in Times Square on a live camera. What girl does not want that? Like literally. Andrew, if you're listening, if you ever find a way to like hijack a billboard in Times Square and put my face on it, let me know, because I would like to make that happen if possible. Now that we've done the iconic New York episodes, I wanted to do top 3 episodes that do not take place in New York City, because typically, we don't start a new season of the show in the city. Coming in at number 1 for this is Summer Kind of Wonderful, which takes place in the Hamptons. It's season 2, episode 1, and they attend the Vitamin Water White Party. There are so many things I love about this episode. Number 1 is obviously the Serena Nate, like what's going on plotline with them. They obviously have a very public kiss while Paparazzi by Lady Gaga plays in the background, and then Dan walks in and sees them. There's Dan and Cece on the side. There's Jenny and Eric becoming friends again. There's Jenny interning for Eleanor and trying to get into the fashion world. Like, oh my God, I absolutely love. And not to mention Blair and Chuck, 3 words, 8 letters, say it and I'm yours. Ugh. And Blair's dress, amazing for that party. I could watch that episode like more than once and not get sick of it. Coming in at number 2 is Double Identity, which is season 4, episode 2, that takes place in Paris. And just absolutely love. They talk about left bank, right bank, and how they thrive when they give each other space to do their own thing as friends. Oh my gosh. And then for number 3, I'm coming in with Gone, Maybe Gone, which is season 6, episode 1, that takes place in upstate New York. And I liked that we started out this episode being like, where the hell is Serena? Because it felt like a good tie-in back to where we started the series. And then when we found her, there were still so many confusing parts to it, so many unanswered questions, like why did she change her name? Why didn't she tell everyone? I actually thought her responses to all of those things were pretty reasonable as far as Serena responses to things go. There's a lot of great Georgina one-liners in this episode. There is the Nate and Sage plot line back in the city. There is the rumblings and the beginnings of Bart and Chuck like coming at odds with one another. Plus, for all of this show, they really don't go to upstate New York very often. And there is one episode in season 4, I believe it's called The Townie, where they go to Connecticut, where Juliet and Ben are from, and where Serena went to boarding school. That episode actually is kind of funny as well, but I just feel like the season opener episodes, when they start somewhere else, have such higher impact, so that by the time we get back to the city, it's like, okay, now we're back, we're ready to go. And I'm pretty sure we almost never actually just start the show back in New York City. I like that we're kind of catching them at the tail end of summer. Okay, moving along, top 3 craziest notes exchanged in the show. This one's kind of specific, but I feel like all 3 of these notes lead to a whole domino effect of other things that happen in the plots later on. So number 1, from Prince Louis to Dan, he gives him some kind of first edition book, I'm not totally sure which one, and says, "Thank you for writing my vows. It will be our little secret." That is diabolical. Having someone else write your wedding vows, like that is major betrayal. Oh my god. And the fact that Dan did it, like that shows you where Dan was at in season 5 compared to Dan in season 1, who never would have dreamed of doing that. The next one is from Jack Bass to Blair when he sends her the Matthew Williamson dress and he says, "One last chance to save your man." Like, oh, it's so icky, and it just like pushes him over the edge and pushes her over the edge, and I hate it. I love that dress, but I hate everything associated with it. And then the other one is Rena to Serena. She also gifts her a dress from Ralph Lauren, actually, on Valentine's Day. And she says, "Thanks for the advice. W would have been a mistake." Okay, here are my top 3 unanswered questions from the end of the series that I'm still wondering about 13 years later. Number 1, so did any of these people ever graduate college? And like, what is Serena's job? Everyone else, I can see what they're doing. Like, Nate runs The Spectator, Blair's Waldorf Designs, Chuck is Bass Industries, Dan is clearly an author. What does Serena do? It's okay if she's a stay-at-home housewife. I feel like that's, maybe a good path for Serena, but just would have been interested to hear, like, did she ever actually get back in touch with anyone from the movie stuff at the end of season 6, like she was talking about? Is she a producer, a publicist, just an influencer? Like, all of that is okay with me. I just was curious what it is. Okay, one thing that goes completely unexplained that I would have loved some just a little bit more tying up the loose ends here, and maybe again, this is because they only had 10 episodes in the last season, but the Rufus, Lisa Loeb, and the Lily reuniting with William storylines. Obviously, Lily and Rufus can't be together if Dan and Serena are going to be together, and Dan and Serena can't be together if Lily and Rufus are going to be together. I don't care how progressive you are. That's just a lot to handle. So clearly, if Dan and Serena end up together at the end, as they do, Rufus and Lily do not reconcile after the whole Bart Bass second death thing and the Ivy thing and the William thing. But like, literally so many unanswered questions. Like, did we just seriously never heard from Ivy again after that? So then William just gets back together with Lily and she just takes him back, no questions asked. Actually, that sounds very much like something Lily might do. How did Rufus reconnect with Lisa, though? We haven't seen her since season 1. Is that right? I don't know. And then my third unanswered question is something that Chuck asks at the beginning of season 6 or at the end of season 5 when he finds Bart alive, and he says, "What did we bury in that casket?" And I would also like to know the answer to this. I'm sure it's either something gross, like he either did a full-on like replica of himself somehow made out of something questionable, or it's totally empty. But I feel like there's not nothing in there. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, top 3 spinoffs that I would have watched instead of the Gossip Girl reboot that they tried to do a few years ago. Number 1, Henry Bass and his friends in 10 years. This was so easy to do. Like, oh my gosh, we absolutely should have done this. Henry is absolutely adorable when we see him in the last like 30 seconds of the show. I would have loved to see who he was as a result of Chuck and Blair's parenting. Like, even if they weren't really in the show much, and maybe that's realistically why they didn't want to do it if they couldn't get Ed Westwick and Leighton Meester to come back in. But like, their parents were also gone for a lot of season 1 too. I don't know. I also would have loved to watch a Lily and Carol prequel or even a CC prequel. Maybe the Lily and Carol prequel would have been harder to do because they actually did have actors come in to do that flashback episode in season 2. But what about a CC prequel? Like CC in LA and then CC like ultimately becoming a Rhodes, becoming who she was today. And then the third spin-off idea that I had instead of the reboot that they did was, what about young Dorota moving to New York from Poland? Like, I absolutely would have loved to watch that too. And let's move on to top 3 character development for the series, starting out with number 1, Charles Bartholomew Bass. Wow. If you had told me at the beginning of the series that Chuck would become possibly my favorite character, I would absolutely have not believed you, because he really is intolerable in so many ways in season 1. He is aggressive. He has no respect for boundaries. He has no respect for women. And he really does have to like go through some stuff to evolve and change and grow. Obviously, when his dad dies, air quotes, in season 2, that's really hard on him, but it also makes him question more about his legacy, what he ultimately wants. and how willing he is to be able to let his walls down and let love into his life when he hasn't really grown up with any semblance of love or respect or appreciation in his household. Number 2 for character development is Blair Cornelia Waldorf. I'm using everyone's full government names here today. And Blair starts out obviously popular, obviously smart, obviously pretty, but with really no clue about what she would need to do to excel in her life and to really be confident in the person that she is. And you can see that through her bulimia in season 1. You can see that through her struggling and continuing to scheme even after leaving high school and at NYU, and how it doesn't necessarily just translate the same. Like, you can't stay in high school forever, even if you're someone who allegedly peaked in high school. And I like how later on, especially through seasons 5 and 6, which I'm more of an early seasons girl for sure, I would say. Like, seasons 1 through 3 are definitely like the ones that I gravitate towards most. But even in the later seasons, she is able to learn a lot more about why she is the way that she is and how she makes certain decisions. And she really does grow and give more grace to herself and to her friends and to her family. It's how she ends up in a relationship with Dan at all. And I feel like she ultimately learns how to use her ability to scheme and concoct plans to strategize and apply it to like her mother's business instead of just to, I don't know, like stealing Poppy Lifton's designs, which she does do at the beginning of season 6. So, it's not always perfect. It's a journey, but that's what we like about Blair, is that she's not perfect and she does not pretend to be. And then for number 3, I'm going to go with Eleanor Waldorf. And I love the progression of Blair and Eleanor's relationship from season 1 through to the end of season 6. Eleanor starts out very dismissive and impatient, and she's always so work focused, which she's allowed to be work focused on her company, but usually that was an excuse to avoid building a deeper connection with her daughter and really seeing her for who she is. And I love how their relationship really changes over the years. I love when she meets Cyrus. I think Cyrus definitely like brings out the best in her. And I think also after she remarries, she becomes a better role model for Blair, in the sense that like you can be a powerful woman and still be soft and have things about you where you have a capacity for love and you take the time to listen and you do all of these things, in addition to still being a badass, someone who runs a multi-million-dollar company, someone who is really powerful because of what they've worked hard to achieve. And I just love that message. And I just love this whole family, including Dorota. Now, originally for this episode, I did also want to do a whole character ranking from best to worst, but I feel like that could be its own episode in and of itself, given that I've already been talking for over an hour while I've been recording this episode at this point. So let me know if you guys are interested in that episode. I can also create some kind of bracket or template so that you can fill in your own list. Also, please let me know if you have anything to add to all of the top 3 categories that we talked through today. I hope you guys enjoyed this trip down memory lane, just like it's 2012 again. You know you love me. XOXO, Gossip Girl.